Hello there, my human friend. Let's jump right into the mind of an absolute literary giant, Naguib Mahfouz. We're not just going to talk about his incredible storytelling today, though. We're digging into a much deeper premise. Naguib Mahfouz wasn't just a novelist. He was actually a brilliant philosopher in disguise. He literally used literature as this massive Trojan horse to sneak heavy existential ideas right into our living rooms.
So, think about the search for love, the search for God, and the search for meaning. I vividly remember the first time I read his short story, Zabalawi. You've got this guy with an incurable illness desperately looking for a local saint to cure him. Now, when I first read it, I was young, and I thought, oh, okay, it's a metaphor. He's searching for love, and love is the cure, right? But then, you get older, the existential dread kind of kicks in, and you start overanalyzing things. I reread it and realized, actually, no, the illness is our human need for the divine. It's a search for God. And then, reading it again years later, maybe through a more nihilistic lens, the real meaning just hit me like a ton of bricks. Zabalawi is hope. The illness is existence itself. We're all on this desperate, endless search for a meaning that, honestly, might not even exist.
And you know what? That wasn't just me overthinking things. Mahfouz actually studied philosophy at university. He did his early postgraduate work on aesthetics in Islamic philosophy, so the guy was deeply, deeply obsessed with these massive questions. But here's the genius part. He knew that if he just wrote dry academic essays, nobody would read them. So he took those profound ideas and hid them inside everyday, relatable characters so anyone could interact with them. As he perfectly put it in his novel, The Sugar Street, if life has no meaning, why don't we create a meaning for it?
Which brings us right to a concept we can call the trap of time. Specifically, this brutal tug-of-war between our past and our future. Mahfouz was absolutely fascinated by this paralyzing tension and how we just constantly get stuck right in the middle. Just look at these two extreme examples. On one hand, you have Ahmed Akaith from the novel Khan al-Khalili. This guy has literally changed to his past. He gave up his university education for his family, and now he spends his whole life drowning in regret, just staring backward, totally terrified of what's coming next. But then contrast him directly with Hamida from Midak Ari. She is the complete opposite. Hamida has zero attachment to her past. She practically takes a blowtorch to her roots, her family, her community, all just to chase this unpredictable, shiny future, and it completely ruins her.
Through these two wildly different characters, Mahfouz is handing us a pretty stark warning. He famously wrote, "Whoever carries the past, his steps stumble." It's so true, right? If you stare too far back, you're going to trip over your own feet. But if you run way too fast forward, violently hacking away at your roots like Hamida did, you're just hurling yourself off a cliff. Both of these extremes are completely fatal.
Now, what's super fascinating here is how these characters perfectly, and I mean perfectly, capture what the Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard called existential anxiety. Kierkegaard basically said that humans are this messy synthesis of the finite, which is our fixed, unchangeable past, and the infinite, which is our terrifyingly wide-open future. And the anxiety? That comes from us not being able to reconcile those two things. We are literally paralyzed by the sheer terror of our own free will. So Ahmed hides in the past to escape the anxiety, and Hamida throws herself blindly into the infinite to escape it. And yeah, they both fail miserably.
But Mahfouz didn't just stop at the anxiety of time. He wanted to crack open the very nature of time itself. To pull this off, he leaned heavily on the French philosopher Henri Bergson. Fun fact, Mahfouz actually wrote a whole essay on Bergson when he was just 23 years old.
So Bergson argued that we experience time in two totally different ways. The first is what he called mechanical time. Think of this as the rigid tick-tock of a clock on your wall. Every single moment is isolated. The past is gone, the present is this fleeting little second, and the future is just waiting in line. It's measurable, it's cold, and it is completely disconnected from how we actually feel.
But then Bergson introduced his second concept, called duration. And this is time as we actually live it. Inside our own minds, time isn't a ticking clock. It's this fluid, continuous, messy stream. When you make a decision right now, your past experiences, your present reality, and all your future hopes are tangled up together in one single, simultaneous moment. Time isn't just passing. It's part of the very fabric of who we are, evolving right along with us.
Now, here is where Mahfouz takes Bergson's fluid idea of time and does something incredible with it. He adds a moral, almost karmic layer to it. In Mahfouz's universe, time is actually watching what you do with your free will, and it judges your choices.
Let's look at the sisters from his famous Cairo trilogy. First, you have Aisha. She's stunningly beautiful, but she's incredibly lazy, passive, and totally apathetic. She just sits back and lets life happen to her. Now look at her sister, Khadija. She doesn't have that same conventional beauty, but man, she is active, responsible, and dynamic. She grabs fate by the steering wheel, and what happens? Time literally erases the passive Aisha. Her entire lineage is wiped out because time refuses to carry forward someone who just watches life go by. But it completely rewards the proactive Khadija, making sure her descendants survive and thrive.
But wait, taking action isn't a magic fix if your motives are toxic. Take Said Moran from The Thief and the Dogs. He definitely takes action, but he is completely consumed by a bitter obsession for past revenge. He tries to forcefully rewrite a past wrong, and in the process, he ends up destroying innocent lives. Mahfouz is showing us that because Said's actions don't add any positive value to the world, they just become absurd. So time steps in and punishes him with ultimate erasure, exactly like it did to the passive Aisha.
Okay, so this brings up a massive, absolutely crucial question. If doing nothing gets you erased and taking selfish, bitter action gets you destroyed, what are we supposed to do? What is the right way to live? How do we find what Mahfouz calls collective salvation?
The answer brings us right back to another one of Bergson's ideas, élan vital, or the life force. This is the creative, evolutionary energy that essentially drives humanity forward. Mahfouz takes this and beautifully twists it into a realization that our individual actions absolutely must serve the survival and the evolution of the whole human race. On our own, as individuals, we're doomed, but the collective human spirit, that is eternal.
If you try to cheat this and just look out for number one, you fall straight into the trap of individual escape. Look at Othman Bayoumi from the novel Respected Sir. This guy works himself to the bone day and night just to get a personal promotion, but he completely ignores all the systemic, societal injustice happening right in front of him. He actually thinks he can out-hustle a broken system all by himself. And his punishment? Time hands him absolute tragic failure. Because you simply cannot succeed on your own in a world that is collectively falling apart.
Contrast Othman's doomed, selfish little escape plan with someone like Ashur al-Nagi from the Horrorfish. Ashur has his own heavy burdens, for sure, but he realizes something profound. He sees that his personal suffering is deeply tied to the oppression of all the poor people in his community. He doesn't just want to survive on his own, he wants collective salvation. He recognizes that shared struggle, and he actually unites the people against their oppressors to achieve real, meaningful progress.
And that right there is the beautiful, triumphant climax of Naguib Mahfouz's whole philosophy. We only overcome the terror of existential dread, and we only survive the relentless judgment of time by uniting together. We can't survive as isolated little islands. We have to add our own stone to the great progressive building of humanity. The meaning of life isn't just something you stumble upon. It's something we actively build together through collective action against the evils of the world.
Which leaves us with a pretty heavy, lingering question for you to chew on today. Think about the path you're walking right now. Are you just fighting for your own individual survival, totally blind to the world around you? Or are you actually adding your stone to the collective salvation of humanity? I highly, highly encourage you to pick up a Naguib Mahfouz novel, dive into his worlds, and really experience his philosophy for yourself. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.